Alright guys, I'm back. I messed up and hit the stop button instead of the pause button, but it's whatever. I'll just make this into a second video. This is going to be a tutorial on the new and improved method for doing my lift kits, and what you're going to need is some 1/16 brass tube. It can be aluminum, copper, whatever, as long as it's 1/16 tubing. You need that. You also are going to need some of these glass beads, number 11. I picked silver. This is what I use to make my whip antennas with, but now this is also what I use to make my wheel spacers. And you will also need some of these tension pins like I've showed in the previous tutorials on how to do my lift kits. And some sandpaper. It doesn't matter what grit really, as long as it isn't too awful coarse. I got some 600 here, and before, you see the way this is humped up here. Before, what I would do is I'd take my Dremel and do each one individually, but I found that can make it where it's unlevel, and one side will be shorter than the other, and that'll make you have some wobble once you get your lift kit finished. So what I do now is I take some sandpaper, have the truck with the basin all on it, and I just hold it where it'll be level and go back and forth on that sandpaper just a good little bit until you see where it's got some flat spots now, and that makes sure it's good and level because the whole truck is sitting level when you do that. So that'll get you some good level flat spots where everything will line up nice and even. After that, you're done with the sandpaper. And then what you need to do is, I also meant to tell you, you need some super glue and some epoxy. And I use 2-part clear epoxy. But first off, get this super glue shook up good here. Those little spots where the humps were, I'm going to put some super glue on those guys. That helps to not be shy with it. And what I like to do is, on these tension pins, I don't know whether you can see it there, but it has a little slit. It's completely round and has a little slit in it. What I like to do is make sure that part is flat on the bottom, because that gives you a little bit more of a flat surface. There's not really a surface there, so it breaks the complete roundness, so it'll sit a little better on them flat spots. I just like to set it down on there just like that, and then look at it, kind of eyeball it, make sure it's straight before that glue really sets. Just like so. And then I let that glue sit, and I'll put some more on this one, and I'm gonna pause the video while I do that so it doesn't run too long, and I'll be right back with you. Alright, I'm back. I got both of them on there, as you can see, and I've already got one of the axle tubes glued in to save a little bit of time. But the way I do this with the brass rod here is I put one side in here. Let's see if I can get it where you can see it. And you want it where the brass rod is sticking out just a little bit. As you can see right there, you see how it's just barely sticking out the end here? That's how you want it. And then you want to come to this side and take your really fine tipped Sharpie and mark you a little line just where a little bit will be sticking out on this side. And then what I do is I chuck it up in my vise, and I take my jeweler saw. You can't really see it, but I take my jeweler saw and I cut it off now instead of using the Dremel like I told you before, because that Dremel will leave kind of the ends of that tubing. The Dremel will leave it really closed up. You see how that's nice and open? That's the side I cut off with the jeweler saw. But then what I do, what I was telling you before, is that you just take some glue and put it on the end there and push the thing through. Well, the problem with that I found is pushing it through. Just pushing this through, it'll clog up your little hole there with super glue, and then you won't be able to get your axle through. So what I do now is I'll take it and stick that axle tube inside that tension pin just a little bit. And then what I'll do is I'll take my super glue and I'll run just a small bead along that tension pin, very light bead along that tension pin. And you don't want it on the end there, because that defeats the whole purpose of putting just a little bit on it. Then you put it in here and you slide it on through. You're going to have some excess on the end. As you can see, that lump of excess super glue right there, that little bead of excess, and you just want to knock that on off. And then you leave that to set for just a second. And let me get my wheels over here. While that's getting set good, you want to take your wheels and spread them out just as far as they can go. And then you want to take your cutters and come in here, cut your axle. Let me see, as you can see here, about right in the center. You do that to both your sets of wheels. And then next what you want to do is take your little glass bead, put it right on that axle. See if you can see it there. You see how that glass bead is on that axle? And give me just 1 second. Let me get all these set up here, and then I'll show you what to do next. Alright, I'm back. So I went ahead and put 3 of the wheels on, and as you can see, they spin really good. But what you want to do to put the wheels on is, you see the little tip of the axle tube there, you want to take your super glue and put just a little dab on there, just a little bit. And then you want to take your wheel with your axle and your spacer, push it right in that axle tube through that super glue where that bead will butt up against there, and you ain't got long. So then you want to take something and push that axle head down in there, and then kind of give a tug and twist until it spins good. And then all your wheels spin. You sit good and level now, so you ain't got no wobble to it, and your truck rolls. So that's the lift kit tutorial on my new and improved methods. But while I got you right here, I told you I was going to show you how to do some light bars in a previous video that I did yesterday. And what I found is bling on a roll in the hobby section at Walmart. And all it is a bunch of little bedazzled rhinestone looking things connected by these little strings here. And all I do is I go through and I cut me a section off the length that I want it, and on one side I leave the little strings on there, but on the other side I make sure I cut it flush. And then what you want to do is you want to take whatever you're putting it on, like I'm gonna put it on this here truck, and you put you a little bit of super glue along there, and then take my tweezers here and try to get it good and centered in that super glue and standing up straight. And then once that super glue, you know, gets it held in place, so that isn't going to be a permanent fix on it. So what you want to do is you want to mix you up some of that clear epoxy I was showing you earlier and put on it. So this is what it looks like with the light bar on it. which turns out pretty cool. I still got to come back and trim up these little edges over here, but you kind of get the point of it. And on your lift kit here, your super glue isn't meant to hold this whole axle set up on here permanently, because it will break off because it's just super glue and you use it on such a small area. So you want to take some of your clear epoxy and mix it up, and right on those humps that we flattened down, come in here, and run you some of that epoxy from this side and up and over that axle tube and back down on the other side of that hump over there, so it'll have a good strong bond. And you do that on all four sides. But that's the tutorial. I hope y'all enjoyed it, and let me know what you think. If you have any more ideas for improvements, please let me know. And as always, I hope you have a good day.